Good morning. Please stand for the joint presentation of the colors by the Sacramento Police Department and the Marin County Sheriff's Department.
Out in, put. Forward. Hut. Guard. Halt. Thanks. Out. Colors. Ready. Face. Present. Halt.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Halt.
As of the last commission meeting, fortunately, no officers in California have lost their lives in the line of duty. Please join me for a moment of silence honoring the officers who lost their lives since our last meeting. Thank you.
Forward.
Now, please join me in thanking the Sacramento Police Department and the Marin County Sheriff's Department. Please take your seats. Ms. Nunez, will you please take the roll call?
Barcelona. Braun.
Here.
Brazil.
Here.
Donellan.
Here.
Doyle. Dudley.
Here.
Yule. Gordon. Long. Marsh. Nieto. Here. O'Rourke.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would now like to introduce 2 seats over, the Advisory Committee Chair, Chief Jason Salazar, and next to him, Post Legal Counsel William Toby Darden, and to my right, Post Executive Director Manny Alvarez. Now, please join me in welcoming Deputy Chief Norm Leong and Deputy Chief Adam Green of the Sacramento Police Department, who will provide opening remarks. Deputy Chief Leong has over 27 years of service with the Sacramento Police Department. He was recently promoted from captain to deputy chief and is now responsible for the Office of Special Services at the Sacramento Police Department. Deputy Chief Adam Green has over 20 years of service with the Sacramento Police Department. He too was recently promoted from captain to deputy chief and is now responsible for the Office of Investigations. Congratulations to both of you, gentlemen. The floor is yours.
Good morning. First and foremost, we'd like to thank you for dedication to California law. Like I was introduced, my name is Adam Green. I'm a deputy chief with the Sacramento Police Department. And I currently oversee our Office of Investigations, which includes our hiring, personnel and training divisions. Unfortunately, Chief Kathy Lester couldn't be here today, and so Deputy Chief Leong and I are here in her place. We're very fortunate here in California to have some of the most advanced and contemporary training standards for law enforcement. Your ongoing commitment and contribution to the profession improves the ability of law enforcement in our state to adapt and proactively seek methods to meet the needs of our diverse communities. We were asked to take this brief opportunity to speak about what we are seeing and doing at the Sacramento Police Department with regards to recruiting, hiring, training new officers as we face the same challenges that each of you and your organizations are confronting: a wanting desire to join the profession of law enforcement, a dwindling pool of qualified applicants, new demands and expectations of our police officers and sheriff's deputies, and a world that is changing more rapidly than our organizations are. By way of an example, in 2020, the Sacramento Police Department had 3,200 applicants. In 2021, we had 1,700 applicants. And so far this year, we have had only 349 applicants. And of those, only 212 have met the minimum qualifications to be a police officer. Efforts to combat our declining numbers include our partnership with CSUS for pipeline programs, re-envisioning our recruiting unit, establishing a recruiting incentive program with financial rewards for our staff, and like many other agencies, changing our department's tattoo policy. In order to improve our process and make it more available, we've worked with our city HR to have a continuously open posting for police officer. We've developed a City of Sacramento online exam, which can be taken in place of the Pellet B. And we allow applicants to take our city hiring exam as many times as needed, and they can apply for police officer positions immediately after passing. As part of our initial interview process, we've developed our rubric for our oral panels to assure we are constantly reevaluating our panel process and assuring fairness and inclusiveness. This year, we fully integrated an electronic backgrounds program, which has made the process easier for applicants, and we use data pulled from that system to identify any trends, both for those who are successful and those who are unsuccessful in the backgrounds process. And throughout all these changes, we've maintained our hiring standards in compliance with post guidelines, and our final background and evaluation is focused on the post attributes of integrity, stress tolerance, decision-making and judgment, conscientiousness, interpersonal skills, and communication. If there's one thing that's true across each of our organizations, it's that police officers and sheriff's deputies today have to be better than every officer that came before them. And the same holds true of our supervisors and managers. At both the state and department levels, we must all be working collaboratively to develop innovative and contemporary methods to recruit candidates who are diverse in thought and background. Once hired, we must build training programs that provide our young officers with the knowledge and skills that it took us years to develop.
At this point, I'll introduce myself. My name's Norm Leong, I'm Deputy Chief with the Sacramento Police Department. Welcome again to Sacramento for those that are not from here. As Adam just pointed out, our struggle and our challenge is to develop the next generation of officers who are better than we were. In that, Kathy Calvin best says it, young people aren't the leaders of tomorrow. They are the leaders of today and tomorrow. A perfect example of that is Adam and I. I'm in my early 50s. Adam's in his early 40s. We're both deputy chiefs with the police department. I have a couple of years left. Adam has many more years left to lead today, but then into the future for tomorrow. Today's reality is that we're promoting people of all ranks sooner and with less tenure in rank. Because of that, we have to prepare our staff by acting deliberately. At the Sacramento Police Department, we are in a time constraint to try to prepare our leadership for the next roles. Because of that, we've implemented a couple of different things. We've created a pipeline hiring program. We've increased our community service officer, which is a non-sworn position, in order to give people a job and life experience. We're finding that our candidates that we're hiring just don't have those skills. And so we have to give them those ability to gain those experiences. We've also implemented a pre-academy training so that those candidates that we've selected to go to our academy are prepared for what they will face in a formal academy training setting. We're encouraging and sending more people to outside training, such as post SLI, Command College, and FBI National Academies. We're restarting our in-house leadership training for our frontline level officers so that they're prepared to make the next jump to sergeant. We're developing yearly management training so that our managers are in-house better trained and prepared for leadership roles. We've also just started implementing a ride-along, walk-along with our command staff. And so from the ranks of sergeants and above, they are going to walk and ride along with our chiefs, deputy chiefs, captains for 2+ weeks to gain exposure to some of the conversation, decision-making processes that are happening. In addition, we are reinstituting our management retreats where we discuss our strategic organizational goals so that the younger managers have the benefit of being in the room during those discussions so that they also can decide where the organization is moving forward. Post and all of us in law enforcement as leaders have a huge responsibility. We must prepare this next generation to lead into the future better and sooner. Thank you all for the work that you do as part of the Post Commission in making our profession better. And that concludes our welcoming.
Thank you, gentlemen. Those numbers are shocking but consistent with the number of applicants throughout the state and throughout the country. It sounds like some of the programs you're doing are innovative and exciting, and you can lead the way for the rest of us to follow too, so that we can come up with more ways to recruit and retain the excellent law enforcement officers. So thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you.
At this time, we will begin the presentations for the 2021 Post Excellence in Training Awards and the O.J. Bud Hawkins Award. My name is Joyce Dudley, and I'm the Santa Barbara County District Attorney and also the Chair of the Post Commission. Each year, the Commission recognizes individuals and organizations that have greatly contributed to the success and effectiveness of our law enforcement community. On behalf of the entire Commission, it is my pleasure to honor the recipients who have distinguished themselves by demonstrating a commitment to exceptional service or excellence in training. Assisting me today in the ceremony is Manny Alvarez, our Executive Director of Post, and Maria Sandoval, Assistant Executive Director. The Post Excellence in Training Awards were established in 1994 to encourage innovation, quality, and effectiveness of peace officer training and to recognize the best of the best. The categories of the Post Excellence in Training Awards are individual achievement, organizational achievement, and lifetime achievement. We will also be presenting the Post O.J. Bud Hawkins Exceptional Service Award. We begin with the 2021 O.J. Bud Hawkins Exceptional Service Award. The recipient of this award this year is Edward Flores.
Excellence in service and setting high standards is the foundation upon which the California Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training, POST, stands. Attaining excellence on a continuous basis is a result of many dedicated staff, subject matter experts, and the Post Advisory Committee, and of course, the Post Commission members. This annual award recognizes all these individuals, but most particularly those who have demonstrated sustained effort over time. These few individuals have made a difference and a lasting contribution. Their creativity, perseverance, dedication to improvement California law enforcement profession is recognized with this Exceptional Service Award. Bud Hawkins is the inspiration for this award because of his sustained contributions to law enforcement, covering 6 decades. Commissioner Hawkins left a legacy of contributions, including the California CLET system, advisor to 11 attorney generals and 6 as the attorney general's representative as a Post Commission. His collective and constructive approach for solving problems and leading law enforcement groups sets an example for all. The winner of this award is Mr. Ed Flores. Mr. Flores served 18 years at the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department, leaving Santa Clara Sheriff's Office as a sergeant. He was appointed as chief of Santa Clara County Deputy Corrections, where he served for 7 years. During his career, Ed served as a field training officer, jail training officer, and academy training officer, and also has taught in the Regional Police Academy, exemplifying a selfless dedication to the profession. Shortly after retiring from the County of Santa Clara, Ed became involved in the post-management course as the on-site coordinator for the past 8 years. Ed now has responsibility for oversight and direction of all post-management courses in Northern California. Through his efforts, Ed has made a significant contribution to the furtherance of post mission and goals. Congratulations to Mr. Ed Flores.
I was asked to keep this short, so I'm going to do my best. First of all, let me thank the commission for this recognition. I'm humbled and honored. Put it back then a bit because I've had decades in the law enforcement career, and I'm flattered that my contributions are worthy, or the commission has felt that I'm worthy of this award. I appreciate it and thank you very much. I'd also like to thank the Post and Director Alvarez and his entire staff for the work they do with pushing training and keeping California at the forefront of our industry. I've had an opportunity to work with a number of post reps over the year, and I will tell you that I'm very impressed with the quality of your staff, the professionalism, the dedication, and their passion for what they do. You've got some exceptional staff. Thank you for their contributions. I'd also like to take a moment to thank Linda Vaughn, our president for South Bay Regional Public Safety Training Consortium, and retired Chief Steve Lodge out of Santa Clara PD, both of which co-sponsored my nomination. I thank them for thinking highly enough of me to nominate me, but also for their support and their friendship, quite frankly. And then I'd like to mention my wife, Libby, who was actually the driving force behind my nomination, who has always been very supportive and one of my biggest fans. So thank you very much, Libby. I've been blessed to have a long career spanning a number of decades, and held a number of assignments, both in law enforcement, corrections, and reflecting back, it's not always about the things that you do in your careers and the policies you make or the organizations that you lead. It's looking back and reflecting back. It's really about the impact you have, and the impact you really have is on people. Because we do not manufacture things. We don't build things. We work with people. And so I've always said the greatest impact you will have is passing things on, and that's through training, developing, mentoring, coaching, instructing, and watching those folks that you've provided that impact to further their careers and expand and grow. It's really worthwhile, and it's very fulfilling and gratifying. I'm being recognized today, but I'm going to be honest with you. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of folks doing the same type of work every day, day in and day out at the city, county, state, and in agencies like mine, South Bay Regional Public Safety Training Commission, that do this type of work every day. They're very dedicated, hardworking folks, and I want to thank them for their passion and dedication to moving or keeping California at the forefront. Lastly, I'll just say thank you very much, Commission, for this great honor. I'm humbled, very humbled. And Manny, thank you very much. I appreciate it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. So well deserved. The recipient of the 2021 Post Excellence in Training Individual Achievement Award is Captain George Ramirez of the Monterey County District Attorney's Office.
The award for individual achievement is given for remarkable effort or accomplishment resulting in a singularly significant or extraordinary contribution to public law enforcement training. The individual contribution must involve innovation, a demonstrably effective project, task, or assignment that has significantly impacted or benefited enforcement training at the organizational, local, or state level. Outstanding contributions may include, but are not limited to, innovative approaches in preparation, presentation, application, implementation, evaluation, planning, and/or management of law enforcement training. The winner of this award is George Ramirez. Mr. Ramirez began his law enforcement career spending 14 years at the Hollister Police Department before becoming employed at the Monterey County District Attorney's Office. This June, next month, George will be celebrating his 25th year in law enforcement. In addition to his primary duties as a position of investigative captain with the District Attorney's Office, George instructs a wide variety of courses throughout the country or the county, and also for the California District Attorneys Investigators Association with the trial prep course. George is also an instructor at the South Bay Regional Public Safety Training Consortium. Assembly Bill 2504 took effect January 1st, 2019, and was codified as Penal Code Section 13519.41. This new section mandated the Commission on Post to develop and implement a course of training regarding sexual orientation and gender identity of minority groups in this state. Mr. Ramirez immediately signed up for the Train the Trainer course. Having an LGBTQ daughter, realized as a parent he sometimes failed. To date, Mr. Ramirez has put on approximately 25 courses across Northern California, training over 500 law enforcement professionals and over 1,000 members of the public. Due to this work, Mr. Ramirez received the Innovation in Training Award from the California District Attorneys Association. Congratulations to Mr. George Ramirez.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to quote directly from our mission statement at the District Attorney's Office, and that we ensure that the rights of victims are upheld by treating them with dignity, respect, and compassion, and aggressively and fairly prosecuting those who violate the law. I would suggest to you that law enforcement training is at the center of that mission statement, and having a properly trained law enforcement force in California is what helps us reach that goal. As Chief also mentioned, Chief Flores mentioned, I'm being recognized for the individual award, but I want to be clear that nothing about what I and we do is an individual. There are dozens, if not hundreds of people behind the scenes who help me accomplish the things that we've been able to accomplish together as a team. I hesitate to start naming them because I know that I'm going to skip one or two somewhere along the line, but there are some that really stand out in my mind as far as those who have helped me get to where I am today. First and foremost, my elected district attorney, Janine Paccioni, and my chief investigator, Ryan McGurk. Without their support, I would not be able to accomplish any of the things that I do without them being behind me and supporting me in the things that I do. My family at South Bay, I call them my family. We're all a family. Linda Vaughn, Ed Flores, Dana Vanderheuvel, who's sitting in the audience today. She's the one that actually nominated me for this. I'm immeasurably grateful to her for taking the time to do that for me. The excellent coordinators that I work for, Dana being one of them, Manny Solano, Wayne Farquhar, and Pat Higgins. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention my extended family down at GTA in San Diego, who are the folks who have really been helping me in the instructor development program. Marissa Messier, Sean Dyball, and the man who's personally been mentoring me for the past 3 years, Lieutenant Sam Reed from the Whittier Police Department. And I saved the best for last. That is my family. Without their support, I couldn't do any of the things that I do. When they have to adjust their schedules, adjust their lives, because dad is going to be gone again for another couple of days at a venue somewhere and drinking hotel coffee. They're the ones that make that adjustments in their lives that allow me to do that. So thank you very much, Commissioner, the rest of the commission for this honor. Again, nothing that I do is individual. We all work as a team and we all achieve this together. Thank you.
Well said. The recipient of the 2021 Post Excellence in Training Organizational Achievement Award is California Department of Insurance Enforcement Branch Headquarters Training Unit. Accepting the award on behalf of the California Department of Insurance is Captain Susan Burns.
This award category recognizes the achievements and contribution made by an organization dedicated to law enforcement training. The award is one wherein training responsibilities and initiative must have resulted in substantial contributions to public law enforcement and reflect a high degree of training, effectiveness, and service. The contribution must be documented and describe one or more projects or programs that primarily training in nature rather than an operational activity. Outstanding contributions include innovative approaches in the analysis, design, development, implementation, evaluation, or delivery of law enforcement training programs. The criteria included both quantum and long-term improvements or successes. The winner of this award, and I think that the rest of you should come up here too, as this is a gaggle of you. Ascend the stage. The Enforcement Branch Training Unit established a phenomenal training program that has positively impacted the culture and performance standards for the enforcement branch. God, there's a lot of you. In the past year, the training program has rebuilt and launched a field training officer program, FTO program, tailored to investigative agencies. The training unit also developed a proprietary software package utilizing a custom database to track all FTO related documents. This dramatically increased transparency throughout the entire FTO process and allowed trainers and trainees to identify areas of improvement early in their probationary period. The training unit also created an in-house FTO development course that focuses on objective and uniform training practices. The development course has greatly increased the quality and consistency of training new detectives and investigators throughout all regional offices in the state of California. The training unit has adapted and expanded their 3-week basic investigator course to meet the restrictions imposed by the pandemic. This included pivoting to a fully virtually training program, which leveraged telecommunication technology to offer a dynamic and engaging training atmosphere. The training unit has also opened courses to outside agencies to promote cooperation and to set the standards for insurance fraud investigations. Congratulations to all of these people, the California Department of Insurance.
And who would like to speak?
Back to you. Don't drop that. On behalf of the California Department of Insurance Enforcement Branch and the Enforcement Branch Training Unit, we would like to thank the Post Commission for this very prestigious award. We would also like to thank our executive management team who clear the path for us and provide the support we need to make great things happen. And I finally would like to thank the Enforcement Branch Training Unit. I have the honor of being the captain over this hardworking group of professionals. I get to see and hear the innovative ideas they bring to the table and witness the changes they make for our department. Team, thank you for your hard work, excellent customer service, dedication, and passion to serve our staff. You've done excellent. I'm proud of you. You are the best of the best. Congratulations.
As the District Attorney of Santa Barbara County, I could say that you have done an outstanding job and we greatly appreciate your department. The recipient of the 2021 Lifetime Achievement Award is Michael Galley. Michael?
Lifetime Achievement Award is presented to individuals who have contributed to public law enforcement training over a substantial period of individual's career. During this time, individuals must have achieved a remarkable record of demonstrable results, including quality, substance, and innovative impact. He or she must have consistently maintained highly creative and effective effort, displayed exemplary service, and exhibited a strong leadership skills. The individual must also enjoy a reputation as an innovator, a leader among peers, and within the state, local, and regional levels. The winner of this award goes to Mr. Michael Galley. Michael is a deputy district attorney and has been teaching to a law enforcement audience since 1985. He specializes in search warrants, search and seizures, asset forfeiture, criminal case filing, and law enforcement prosecutor relations. Additionally, he volunteers his time on numerous occasions per year, providing instruction to various law enforcement agencies throughout Northern California, the California Narcotics Association, and the California District Attorneys Association. Over the last 2 years, Mr. Galley has both directly and indirectly assisted posts in various curriculum development and projects for post ICI core course and the major drug investigations course. His efforts has assisted posts in their mission to update curriculum and enhance the quality, content, and professionalism via detailed training courses to law enforcement. Mr. Galley has directly trained over 5,000 law enforcement officers over the course of nearly 40 years, which is longer than I've been alive. Finally, Mr. Galley took it upon himself to fully research, write, and publish the most current California search warrant manual, updating this manual every 18 months at his own expense. Congratulations to Mr. Michael Galley. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'd like to thank retired San Jose Police Sergeant Dave Weissop for nominating me for this award and the California Post Commission for bestowing this prestigious honor upon me. I also wish to acknowledge the presence of some friends and colleagues in attendance today. These include members of the South Bay Regional Public Safety Consortium, who are my friends and people I work with often. I've been privileged to teach many law enforcement officers and prosecutors search and seizure law and search warrant drafting for almost 40 years now. Before suffering my third brain hemorrhage in 2009 and enduring 5 hours of brain surgery at the end of 2009, I did many ride-alongs with police officers on my own time to better understand their jobs and become a better prosecutor and trainer by gaining that understanding. As you know, compared to prosecutors, their job is incredibly dangerous, and there's no such thing as a routine call for service. Every call is potentially life-threatening for an officer. I've lost 5 law enforcement officer friends in the line of duty over the course of my career, and 2 other friends who were injured in shootings but fortunately recovered. It's my hope that by volunteering my time and talents over the years, I've made their jobs a bit easier and made them feel more comfortable interacting with prosecutors, which, as you all know, can be tough at times. Although now forced into retirement by my office, I intend to continue to write the CDA search warrant manual. I'm working on the 6th edition, and there's about 400 cases that I have to read right now to decide whether or not they're going to be included in this manual. I've written the manual since 2009. I've answered Fourth Amendment questions for law enforcement officers and DAs throughout California. In the last 5 years, I've answered about 600 questions from elected DAs, from chiefs of police, from deputy DAs, and also from patrol line officers. I intend to continue to volunteer to help various law enforcement agencies, teach search warrant and search and seizure law to prosecutors and law enforcement officers and mentor law clerks and lawyers as they pursue their law enforcement career. I want to thank you again for this prestigious award. And I want you all to know that I really appreciate that and respect all the work that you do every day. Thank you very much.
I have to say that as a deputy district attorney, when I was on call, I slept with your book. Inevitably, I'd be asked, I understand, it has not put me to sleep. When asked a very difficult question in the middle of the night, I just turned to you. So nice to finally meet you. Okay, so thank you for the recipients as well as their colleagues and family members. This concludes the official part of our award presentation. At this time, shall we sit back down or? Okay, if I could ask everyone to please sit down. Everyone is sitting down. Good, you've done a great job.
Chair. Appreciate that. Now, we wanted to take some time, since everybody is here, to just do some less formal awards on behalf of the commission to some of the commissioners who are here.
Thank you, Mr. Alvarez.
Please come up. So Commissioner Gordon has been on the commission for probably approximately 9 months. Half a second. She's put in a few hours already. But no, we're here to recognize you for the executive certificate. We figured we'd take this opportunity and save on the postage to have the name of California.
Well, and now I have to get it home in a nice frame.
No, we will take care of that.
Okay.
We will. But no, Commissioner Gordon is the chief of the Monterey Park Police Department and is one of our newest members of the commission. As many of you know, the executive certificate is awarded based on two criteria. The first criteria is the easiest criteria, which you have to go through a course. And the course is a 2-week course, generally for lieutenants on up. The second part is the most challenging, perhaps the most challenging part, maybe the second most challenging part, is in order to get this executive certificate, you have to have a course, and then you have to rise to the ranks of the head of an agency. Obviously, the chief has done. And then the third part, which may be the most challenging part, is that you have to be in that position for 2 years, which is hard for a chief these days. So for anybody who's head of a law enforcement agency. So Chief Commissioner, we just wanted to present this to you while you were here. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for what you do for the commission and your outspoken feedback and direction that you provided us during that. Thank you, Chief. Okay. Second one is for Lieutenant Lili Bowie from the Sacramento Police Department. Is she here? Call you lieutenant now because she was recently promoted and held the position of sergeant or below on the commission, and immediately upon her promotion, within a matter of seconds, had come off the commission, which is a very difficult thing for us because you've been so phenomenal. Lieutenant, former Commissioner Bowie, thank you for what you've done. We want to present you with a resolution. Madam Chair, if I could take some time to read it, I would.
Please.
I'm a great reader. I get worse as I go along, but I'd like to read it. And I'll read it verbatim. In appreciation of Lili Y. Bowie. Whereas Lili Bowie graduated from the Sacramento Police Department Academy on March 29, 1995. Whereas Lili Bowie began her distinguished law enforcement career as a police officer for the Sacramento Police Department on April 1st, 1995. Whereas Lili Bowie
was promoted to sergeant on August 19, 2006. Whereas Lili Bowie was promoted to lieutenant on March 26, 2022. That's according to our records. I don't know, maybe different on your records. Whereas Lili Bowie served in assignments in patrol, narcotics, crime analysis, internal affairs, and sexual assaults for the Sacramento Police Department. Whereas Lili Bowie has over 27 years of continuous service as a peace officer. Whereas Lili Bowie has served as a member of the Sacramento Police Officers Association and the California Asian Peace Officers Association Board of Directors. Whereas Lili Bowie was appointed by Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger as a commissioner for the California Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training on April 15, 2005. Whereas Lili Bowie was reappointed as a commissioner for post by Governors Edmund G. Brown Jr. and Gavin Newsom. Whereas Lili Bowie served as a commissioner for California Post from April 15, 2005 to March 26, 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that Lili Y. Bowie has honorably served the citizens of the state of California. As a post commissioner, she provided sage and insightful direction to post. It is in the spirit of gratitude and appreciation that the California Commission on Post presents this resolution and remains eternally thankful for all that she has contributed, for all that she has accomplished.
I was brought onto the commission in 2014, and Lili was my mentor. She not only taught me the value of being on the commission, but also invited me out that night with a bunch of us to celebrate your warmth, your brilliance, your compassion, your energy, and your devotion is so quite remarkable. Please say a few words.
I have a lot of anxiety right now because I don't like this. But thank you for giving me the time to speak. What you do in this room as commissioners will resonate with generations to come. You have so much impact on law enforcement. So I want to thank my fellow commissioners for being here with me, guiding me, supporting me. The leadership here from Ken O'Brien, and I'm dating myself, to Paul Capitelli, Bob Strezak, and now you, Manny. Thank you very much. And Maria. And Madam Chair, you are amazing. I have so much respect for what you do. I have been very fortunate to serve here amongst other SAC PD people, including Maria and Charles Sandoval, Chiefs Tom Chaplin, Rick Brazil, Sylvia Moyer, and our very unique Elmo Banning. And also, I'd like to really thank staff for everything that you've done, all of your insight, all of your expertise that you have provided to me. And a few of you are here, Roseanne Rischel, Larry Ellsworth, Jim Catapotis, I know he's not here, Mike Barnes, Andrew Mendonza. Thank you very much for all of your expertise in helping me throughout the years. So it's been my honor to serve with all of you. And I leave the commission in very good hands. And I'll be by every once in a while to say hi because you guys have been a very big part of my life. And I greatly appreciate you and love you all.
We also lost another commissioner that was filling the role of sergeant or below, and that's Commissioner Bettine Ramirez. Commissioner Ramirez recently retired. She was unavailable to be here today, but we're going to try to recognize her at the September meeting. So please be advised of that. The next one, and this is the last one, is for Commissioner Bob Doyle. Commissioner Doyle, Sheriff Doyle, if you would come out here, because we don't know what's happening. So Sheriff Doyle is the sheriff of Marin County. He is not running for election this go around in the recent primary. So we don't know how long Sheriff Doyle will be on the commission, hopefully for a long, long period, but we want to at least take an opportunity to recognize Sheriff Doyle. Madam Chair, if I may take some time to read
Please.
Sheriff Doyle's also. Okay, in appreciation of Robert T. Doyle. Whereas Robert Doyle served the nation in the United States Army from 1966 to 1969 in California, Oklahoma, Germany, and Vietnam. Whereas Robert Doyle began his distinguished law enforcement career as a deputy sheriff for the Marin County Sheriff's Office on November 3rd, 1969. Whereas Robert Doyle graduated from the Basic Law Enforcement Academy on October 1st, 1971. After you were already a deputy sheriff, way back in the day. A little different back then. Whereas Robert Doyle was promoted to sergeant on March 1st, 1975, to lieutenant on July 1st, 1980, to captain on December 28th, 1986, and to undersheriff on March 30, 1996. The dates may be a little off, but that's what we have on record. And we all know post is always right. So, whereas Robert Doyle was appointed as sheriff for the Marin County Sheriff's Office on March 30th, 1996. Whereas Robert Doyle was elected sheriff for the Marin County Sheriff's Office in 1998, 2002, 2006, 2010, 2014, and 2018, 6 times. Whereas Robert Doyle has served in line and leadership positions in the patrol, custody, and court divisions for the Marin County Sheriff's Office. Whereas Robert Doyle has over 52 years of continuous service as a peace officer. Whereas Robert Doyle was appointed by Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger as a commissioner for the California Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training in October 2004. We couldn't find the exact date. And subsequently reappointed by Governors Edmund G. Brown Jr. and Gavin Newsom. Whereas Robert Doyle served as a commissioner for California Post from October 2004, again, we couldn't find a precise date, to the present. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Robert T. Doyle has honorably served the United States of America and the state of California. As a post commissioner, he provided sage and insightful direction to Post. It is in the spirit of gratitude and appreciation that the California Commission on Post presents this resolution and remains eternally thankful for all he has contributed, for all he has accomplished. Thank you.
I don't know how many of you heard what Lila said as she walked away from the mic, but she said, "I love you all." And we heard that. And it's hard for people to imagine that post commissioners, in addition to the incredible work that they do, reading and preparing and considering everything that's going on in the state of law enforcement in our state of California, there's a lot of love in the room. And I just can't imagine losing 2 people we love more than Lila and Bob Doyle today. Choked up. Because in addition to the incredible experience Sheriff Doyle brings and the wisdom that he brings, the humor that he brings, and we need that humor from time to time. He has been a guiding light in this organization, and he'll be missed terribly.
I probably shouldn't say anything after that. But just to clarify, I attended the police academy between kindergarten and first grade. But just to put things in proper perspective, police academy was 200 hours when I attended. But you know, the most interesting thing about this job, I think, is the people that I get to meet that I normally would not get to meet. And that includes everybody on the post commission. It's truly been a privilege, you know, to do this. And I think that post is a guiding light, you know, for the future of law enforcement. And I just want to thank everybody. The friendships have been great. I love you all. I thought Lila had been here before me, but so congratulations on being promoted to lieutenant. And thank everybody. And I wish you well in the future. And by the way, it's June 30th is when I'm leaving. So. And that was a nice touch to have members of my honor guard here. So Dominic and Kelly, thank you.
He was not expecting the honor guard from his department to come. And the moment I announced the honor guard, looked over at Manny and I went. So that was terrific. Okay, we're going to take a little break now. And so families can come together. And I think the families are going to do photographs. Is that right? Yes, okay. And we will start back up again at, what do you want to do, 5 to 10 or 10? 10 o'clock, please. Thank you, everyone, and congratulations to the award winners. Given that a couple of the commissioners have to leave in an hour, we're going to go out of order. But I won't tell you how out of order. It'll just be a surprise, apparently. Nope, not a surprise. Okay. Public comment, voting, finance, meeting minutes, executive director report. Good. Okay. Okay, here we go. All set? Marvelous. Thank you to the hardworking IT folks. This is the time set aside for members of the public to comment on items on the commission agenda. Pursuant to the commission policy, the commission chair will manage the public comment period in deference to the commission's workload and in meeting time constraints. Up to 15 minutes is allotted at the beginning of each commission meeting for public comments on items on the agenda. Based on recent events, more people than usual may want to address the commission. Therefore, if required, we will go longer than 15 minutes, but may limit the period to no more than 1 hour, as we have many topics on the agenda. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to limit their remarks to no more than 5 minutes each. If we have many people who wish to speak on the same topic, I, as the chair, may intervene and will ask that you limit remarks to no more than 1 minute. Pursuant to existing commission policy, the chair may conclude the public comment period if multiple speakers are voicing repetitive or similar statements and the 15-minute public comment period has expired. Please be advised that the commission cannot take action on items not on the agenda. Please remember that this meeting is being transcribed, so I may politely interrupt and ask you to repeat or speak slowly and clearly so your comment can be correctly captured in the transcript. At this time, is there anyone who would like to address the commission during public comment? Please come forward and state your name and your organization.
Good morning. My name is Mary Green. I'm the Chief Investigator with the Placer County District Attorney's Office.
Good morning.
John Irk, Chief Investigator, Yola District Attorney's Office.
Good morning.
And we're here today, we're members of the California Chief Investigators Association, and our president, Chief Del Giudice of Riverside, had sent a letter, and I think it had gotten lost in the mail, and we wanted to make sure that it had entered, been able to enter in the
Thank you.
record. And am I able to enter into the record, or do I have to read it?
You have to read it,
Okay.
but then it would be good if you left us a copy, and then the reporter transcriber can, so if you read quickly, she'll be able to rely on that.
Okay, well, I will try to read quickly and clearly.
Okay.
Okay. On behalf of the California Chief Investigators Association, in response to Post Bulletin 2121-31, Notice of Availability of 15-day language, please accept this letter as our renewed objection to and request to rescind the changes to Peace Officer Standards and Training Post Commission Regulation 1005A, which proposes to reduce the minimum training requirements for District Attorney Investigators, DAI, in California. We are also requesting a new public hearing due to the amended statement of reasons containing new, different information than the initial statement of reasons submitted to the Office of Administrative Law. We are asserting our right to be heard regarding this matter. Lastly, we request a current or new comprehensive study via survey of all district attorney offices statewide. This information is critical in confirming the various general law enforcement roles DAIs perform in Northern and Southern California. The data used by the Post Commission was alarmingly dated, inaccurate, and unacceptable. The proposed regulation undermines Post's purported goal of enhancing professionalism in California law enforcement, which is why it is opposed to 49 of the 52 California District Attorney Bureau chiefs. Post has simply ignored the reasoned thoughts and feedback from the experts in this field. It is no wonder that Post has disregarded the overwhelming opposition from these directly affected by the proposed regulation. The Commission's actions have demonstrated that it does not value nor desire an open forum on the best practices for DAI training requirements. Rather, Post has gone out of its way to hide the profound change it is seeking. Although legally required to provide a copy of the relevant documents to stakeholders to facilitate feedback, Post wholly neglected to do so. Instead, Post posted the information on its website, but deceptively hid documents under misleading titles and headings. This was an obvious attempt to obfuscate the reduction in the amount and type of training being required of DAIs and to prevent those affected from voicing opposition. Furthermore, there is no legitimate justification for the proposed regulation. Post's purported explanation for this reduction in required training for DAIs is not evidence-based, but rather outcome-driven. The addendum to the initial statement of reasons contends that the proposed change is necessary because of significant distinctions between the DAI position and that of a police officer or deputy sheriff. Addendum at page 3. But Post has identified these so-called significant distinctions from a study completed in 1983. It should not require noting that law enforcement needs, and indeed the entire world, was different in 1983. Using observations on job distinctions from nearly 40 years ago is obviously not an attempt at a real understanding of the needs of a district attorney's office. Had Post wished to genuinely evaluate the differences in training requirements of DAIs versus police officers and deputy sheriffs, it would have studied job functions in 2022, not those that existed at the time of the Cold War. It is also worth noting that Post misrepresents the finding and conclusions of that 1983 study. Although in 1983, Post staff came to the unremarkable conclusion that the job of a DA investigator is different from that of a patrol officer, they also concluded that the basic course was more in line with the duties of a DAI because DA's investigators perform more general criminal investigations duties. It was during these 1983 hearings that Post determined the special investigator basic course was insufficient to meet the needs of DAI position. To cite that study now as a reason that the specialized course should be sufficient is disingenuous. Had Post conducted a study of DAI job duties within this century, they would have discovered that investigators within a district attorney's office are tasked with considerable general criminal investigative work. For example, DAIs are assigned to investigate cases submitted by police and sheriff's departments on every type of criminal offense, from misdemeanors to capital murder. DAIs interview witnesses, collect evidence, conduct surveillance, serve search warrants, run wiretap operations, and a whole host of other general investigative techniques. Additionally, bureaus of investigation maintain specialized unit in which DAIs conduct independent criminal investigations akin to a police officer or deputy sheriff. A few examples include cold case units that review unsolved homicides and other serious offenses and reopen and conduct the investigation anew. Most district attorney investigation offices maintain a conviction review unit that rely heavily on DAIs to review and question closed investigations to ensure only the guilty have been convicted. Public integrity units investigate all accusations of criminal conduct by public officials and in local government agencies, including law enforcement agencies. Most bureaus of investigation participate on one or more multiple police and sheriff task forces involved in the enforcement of actions such as human trafficking, narcotics, gangs, auto theft, and fugitive apprehension. Since the typical DAI is a seasoned, thoroughly trained law enforcement professional, the DA investigators or inspectors assigned to these task forces often rise to the role of peer leader and subject matter expert. These are but a few examples of what necessitates an understanding of general law enforcement techniques. Post contends that DAIs do not need to understand patrol techniques or custody procedures, but this is something that completely ignores the role of DAI in investigating peace officer misconduct, officer-involved shootings, and in custody deaths. To properly perform this work, DAIs must have knowledge of the police and custody practices and procedures. Likewise, Post's conclusion that the portions of the basic course are irrelevant to DAIs ignores the fact that DAIs, as a full authority police peace officers, can be pressed into service as mutual aid to handle everything from general patrol functions to emergency operations to rendering aid to smaller departments. During this time of uncertainty and upheaval, it is more important than ever for all police agencies to emphasize training, experience, and transparency. Post's proposal to reduce training and de-emphasize experience for frontline investigators such as DAIs completely ignores the role of law enforcement as stewards of the public trust. Post's decision to obfuscate and misstate its true objectives is anything but transparent. This historic moment demands more from law enforcement than a lessening of standards for DAIs who interact with the public, investigate crimes, and generally perform the same functions as other law enforcement agents. Post is completely out of touch with modern realities. The proposal to reduce the standards for DAI training is myopic and should be wholly rejected.
Thank you. Is there anything else? Nope. That will be on the agenda later. Anybody want to make any statements or ask any questions now? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak public comment? Okay, thank you. So the next thing we're going to go to is voting on page 8 and 10. So, okay, wonderful. And we actually are going to start with, at this time, I will call upon law enforcement consultant Kirk Bunch to provide us a report on this item. And this is Commission Regulation 1005A, the report on proposed changes to the minimum training requirement for district attorney investigators. Welcome, Kurt.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. As introduced, my name is Kirk Bunch. I'm a law enforcement consultant with the Basic and Training Bureau. And I appreciate the opportunity to present this agenda item today. The item I am presenting on today is in reference to amending the minimum training standards for DA investigators. Currently, Commission regulation requires completion of the regular basic course for DAIs. The amendment will allow completion of the regular basic course or the specialized investigators basic course to meet the training requirement for district attorneys, but does not mandate a district attorney's office accept completion of the SIBC course. For the new commissioners, and also as a reminder to the other commissioners, posts determined that a change to the minimum standards for training specific to DAI positions is necessary to correct the inconsistencies as DAIs do not meet the post definition of general law enforcement. General law enforcement duties are defined in Commission Regulation 1001. General law enforcement duties are duties which include the investigation of crime, patrol of a geographic area, responding to the full range of requests for police services, and performing any enforcement action on the full range of law violations. At the request of the Office of Administrative Law, staff withdrew the initial rulemaking file to provide additional justification for the proposed change. Staff added the addendum, initial statement of reason to the file, which required a 15-day public comment period to be provided. Additional comments were received during the comment period and have been attached to this agenda item for the Commission's consideration. During this process, post staff has received several inquiries of that 1983 job analysis that was mentioned. So I included the 1983 job analysis conducted by posts of the entry-level DAI positions. The analysis is for reference purposes only, and it was not documented, relied upon when proposing the change to the minimum training standards for district attorney investigators. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from anyone? Okay, let me be clear on a couple of things. Do individual elected district attorneys need to change their standards in any way in terms of the investigators that they hire?
No, Madam Chair.
Do individual district attorney investigator chiefs need to change their standards in any way about anybody that they suggest be hired by the elected DA?
No, Madam Chair.
Does this requirement impose any additional training or duties on DA investigators?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other questions?
Madam Chair,
Please.
I do have a question. And I don't know if it's true or not. Did we receive something from 49 of the 52 DAs that opposed this regulation? And are those all attached? I know I saw some things attached.
Yes, Commissioner Nieto, we received letters in the fall signed by all of the district attorneys, investigators, one big letter, and then we had individual letters. Well, not all, but a majority, whatever the 40 some numbers were. And then we received additional letters in the spring up until the last couple of weeks or last week, I believe, or days. And then obviously this new letter that's coming forward from Chief Green.
And I have an additional question of what amount of outreach did we do with the DA's investigators group?
I can answer that. So looking through the letters, I identified, and post staff has identified 4 main things that the associations have brought up. One is the lack of notice and collaboration with district attorneys and DA investigators. So addressing that one first, during the public comment portion of commission meeting on Thursday, October 22nd, 2020, the caller requested that the commission entertain the possibility of SIBC graduates qualifying for investigator positions at district attorney's offices. The topic was not on the agenda for that meeting, nor were any prior commission meetings. Due to the public comment during that meeting, the commission directed post staff to present the feasibility of such changes to Regulation 1005 at the commission meeting on February 24th, 2021. On Monday, October 26, 2020, Post Executive Director Manny Alvarez contacted the California District Attorney Investigators Association president. During the call, Executive Director Alvarez discussed with the president the issue raised during public comment and the direction of the commission regarding the same. Executive Director Alvarez sought feedback from and discussion with the association and offered to meet with the board to secure recommendations and input. On February 24th, 2021, Post staff made a presentation regarding alternative methods of addressing the qualifications for DA investigators. Commission compelled staff to make a second presentation with more in-depth analysis with recommendations for considerations at commission meeting on June 2nd, 2021. On the evening of June 1st, 2021, the night before the scheduled commission meeting, Executive Director Alvarez received a telephone call from the president expressing that his association opposed any changes to the existing regulation. There was no contact with or input provided by the CDAIA until June 1st.
If I may also, Madam Chair and Commissioner Nieto, if I can add a little bit of context, that call was on June 1st when the opposition was June 1st when it was agendized for the commission on June 2nd. And the commission heard during public comment all the comments from the district attorneys, investigators, and various people, including, I believe, some other public members. We asked the commission to hold off. The commission decided to move it forward. Then we had held the public hearing, and we brought it back to the commission after the public hearing, I believe in end of September, October, and we are where we are now. I would like to add something about the 1983 study because I am one of the individuals involved with this 1983 study, so I would like to give it some context and understanding, hopefully, as to how this has come about with this 1983 study. And obviously, Kirk just mentioned why it's in the agenda. When all this all transpired in June, I had a meeting with the chief of the California District Attorneys Investigators Association, and there was a reference to that there had never been a study of the district attorney investigator positions. It just so happened that we were cleaning out a closet when our former colleague, Scott Loggins, was here, our archive closet, and he gave that to me and he said, hey, by the way, we did some study in 1983. It was a paper copy. I ultimately came back. The vote had already happened. It had already taken place. I emailed that chief DAI and said, hey, just as an FYI, this is dated, is what I said in my email. It's like 40 or 50 years old, but there was a study back in the 1980s, just out of curiosity. Somehow or other, that has now come upon, certain individuals that there was reliance on that document for these changes. You all had already made the decision, I want to say before you even knew that document existed. And there's some of the letters say that one of the letters specifically quotes that Post heavily relied on that document for these changes, which is not accurate. We didn't even know about it, nor would we rely on a document that's 40 or 50 years old. It's definitely an interesting read from a historical perspective, but that's why it's in there. We ask Kirk and the team, hey, this is a topic of conversation. Just put it in the agenda since we know it's in there. And as Kirk mentioned in the eyesore, it's merely referenced. There's no reliance upon that document, but I just want to make that clear about the 1983 study.
And just to make it clear, I've never seen the 1983 document. As far as I know, no commissioner has seen that. We already voted on it before it came to light. And there was absolutely no opportunity for any commissioner to rely upon the 1983 document when in fact, none of us have seen it and still haven't seen it. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from other commissioners? Yes.
Sure, Madam Chair, just to be clear, so the change in the reg offers DAs an option.
That's
It
exactly.
doesn't require any action, correct?
Correct. It gives a pathway for the hiring authority if they're seeking out a very specific job skill or experience that they could do it.
Thank you.
If I may add again,
Yes, sir.
that it essentially adds consistency for all the investigator positions. All the investigator positions have the option of, the hiring authority has the option of hiring somebody from the RBC or the SIDC. It's completely their option.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. On to management counseling. Yeah. Moving on to management counseling practice. 1081. Got it. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Chief Salazar, did the advisory committee have any comments on this item?
Madam Chair, the advisory committee did not have any additional questions or comments on this.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the changes as described in the staff report? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Now on to Management Counseling and Projects Bureau. Report on proposed changes to Commission Regulation 1081, minimum standards for legislatively mandated courses. Item E is a report on proposed changes to Commission Regulation 1081. At this point, I will call upon law enforcement consultant Larry Ellsworth, Management Counseling and Projects Bureau, to provide us a report on this item. Welcome, Larry. Please.
And again, good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. I am here to seek your input on a review and update that's been completed on the 2006 version of the Vehicle Pursuit Guidelines. They are incorporated by reference within California Code of Regulations 1081, which is the minimum standards for legislatively mandated courses. The update to the guidelines was done in collaboration with a group of approximately 15 subject matter experts. And again, the previous version was over 16 years old and it was still viable and useful. However, 16 years old is obviously in need of some revision and some careful review. We updated this in order to meet contemporary needs and issues, new technology, new case law, and things of that nature. The revised copy has been reviewed at all levels within post. And if the commission approves the changes, the guidelines will be submitted then to the Office of Administrative Law for approval before publication. And I would ask if there's any, I guess.
Are there any questions? Did the advisory committee have any comments on this item?
Madam Chair, no additional comments on this item.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the changes as described in the staff report?
Commissioner Nieto.
Second, Ron? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you so much, Larry.
Thank you.
Okay, Strategic Communications and Research Bureau. Report on proposed changes to Commission Regulation 1053, Peace Officer Background Investigation, and Commission Regulation 1955, Peace Officer Psychological Evaluation. Item F is a report on the proposed changes to Commission Regulation 1953 and 1955. At this point, I'll call upon Bureau Chief John Loudon and Staff Services Manager Melanie Singley, Strategic Communications and Research Bureau, to provide us a report on this item. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commission members. John Loudon, Bureau Chief for Strategic Communications Research Bureau. I'm joined by Melanie Singley. In September of 2021, the Commission reviewed and approved proposed regulation changes to Commission Regulations 1953 and 1955 in conjunction with Assembly Bill 846, AB 846. AB 846 expanded Government Code 1031F to require the psychological evaluation includes screening for bias against race, gender, nationality, religion, disability, sexual orientation, and to include the identification of implicit and explicit bias. The proposed regulations were submitted to the Office of Administrative Law for review and were later withdrawn to address recommendations received by the Racial Identity Profiling Advisory Board, RIPA, during the public comment period. Post staff partnered with members from RIPA to review their recommendations and worked in collaboration to craft proposed language changes to Commission Regulations 1953 and 1955. As I said, I'm joined by Staff Services Manager Melanie Singley, the project manager who conducted the research and development of the initial regulation changes. Melanie will provide a summary of the recommendations received by RIPA and how those were incorporated into Regulations 1953 and 1955.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. As John had indicated, these regulations have been put forth through the commission back in September, were approved. Those included bias assessment framework and adding multicultural competence to psychological evaluators requirement, as well as additional language. We did put out the information out for a 45-day public comment period, in which we did receive one comment letter from, as John had indicated, the RIPA board. Meetings were held with the RIPA board members earlier this year, and through mutual agreement, we have developed additional proposed regulations. The additional language is included in double underlined strikeout in the agenda item. The initially proposed regulations, which were approved by the September 2021 commission meeting, are indicated in single underline, single strikeout. In addition to the proposed language in attachment A, which is the proposed double underline strikeout language, we've also included attachments A1 and A2, which were the previously approved bias assessment framework and the multicultural competence. These are being presented just for reference, and also there is a minor change to attachment A1, which is the description in the bias assessment framework. The new additional proposed regulations include requiring that the background investigation narrative report and the psychological evaluation report include specific information on the bias assessment, including identifying sources used and providing findings to the screening psychologist and the hiring department. Additionally, a social media search requirement is being proposed for inclusion as part of the background investigation. These changes were in response to RIPA's recommendations and supported by post staff as being relevant, beneficial, and necessary in implementing the bias assessment framework in screening peace officer candidates. These additional proposed changes were also presented for feedback to the initial stakeholder groups, which included background investigators, screening psychologists, and law enforcement representatives. They've also been sent out for a 15-day notice. We didn't receive any feedback from them, or we did send them directly to RIPA as well. So no feedback was received for the 15-day notice. Of additional note, in recently released report by the state auditor had identified the importance of social media searches through a key recommendation, which is to improve screening of peace officer applicants by reviewing applicants' public social media profiles for identification of disqualifying biases. To identify potential concerns with requiring departments to conduct social media checks, Post conducted a survey to determine how many departments are currently cyber vetting their candidates. As noted in the survey results, nearly 85% of the 206 respondents are currently conducting social media searches of their peace officer candidates. The survey also provided information on how social media checks are being conducted, what information is sought, as well as how they're being, what information is being relayed. Acknowledging some of the respondents' comments and primary reasons for not conducting social media searches, including concerns with state and federal laws and lack of training, Post is working on developing guidance and training for background investigators, including best practices for conducting social media searches to include relevant state and federal laws. Additional changes to the proposed regulations include editorial and clarifying changes. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Did the advisory committee have any comments on this item?
Madam Chair, the advisory committee did not have any questions or comments on the bias assessment portion. There were some comments related to the social media checks, primarily just for clarification as to what requirement 1953 E12 meant with a social media check and any conflict with Labor Code 980, but that was explained by which prohibits us from requiring the candidate to surrender the passwords. Other than that, no additional questions or comments.
Is there a motion to approve the changes as described in the staff report?
Braun.
Second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. The motion passes. The next item is Training Delivery and Compliance Bureau is G, Report on Amendment to Commission Regulation 1005, Minimum Standards for Training, Correction to Firearms, PSP topics. Item G is a report on amendment to Commission Regulation 1005. At this time, I will call upon Staff Service Managers Michelle Wheeler, Training Delivery and Compliance Bureau, to provide us report on this item. Thank you, Michelle.
Good morning. Did you guys miss
Morning.
me from yesterday? This one will be much easier, I promise. I know there's some new faces on the commission, so just a little bit of background. At the October 22nd, 2020 meeting, the commission approved some very long overdue amendments to the minimum standards for perishable skills program training. After approval from the Office of Administrative Law in March 2021, these changes went into effect last spring. Just during some normal review and discussions with the field, we found that there were a couple of things that needed some revision. One is to update the terminology in tactical firearms under Objective 3, demonstrate a minimum standard of tactical handgun proficiency with every technique, exercise, and course of fire to include. We changed letter E from shoot, or proposing to change letter E from shoot, no shoot decision-making to threat assessment identification to be better aligned with best practices and terminology. And then the other proposal is that objective number 2, we are going to remove the reference to LEOCA reports. We used to do those here at Post. However, that data was not always timely. And about 12 years ago, we stopped producing them here, and we're going to rely on other national sources for that data. And so it's not appropriate to continue to reference LEOCA since the data sources are so readily available now elsewhere. So we're just going to remove that, and we suggest replacing it with just a reference to identify the tactical analysis key points related to law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty as a result of the use of firearms instead of a specific reference to LEOCA.
Thank you, Michelle. Are there any questions?
Commissioner Nieto,
Yes.
under number 2, there's just a repeat, so it's just a typo. Is related to and then related to. So I'm assuming related to is going to be struck to the blue.
Yes, you are correct. Thank you for catching that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else? Did the advisory committee have any comments on this item?
No comments, Madam Chair.
Is there a motion to approve the changes as described in the staff report? Second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On to the advisory committee. The advisory committee acting chair, Chief Jason Salazar, will report on the advisory committee meeting held Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. You're on.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. The Post Advisory Committee did meet on Tuesday, May 24th. I had the pleasure of serving as acting chair for that meeting. We welcomed a new member in Mr. Walt Allen. Mr. Allen serves as the director of the Rio Hondo Police Academy in Whittier and represents the California Academy Directors Association on the Post Advisory Committee. And I believe he will bring a great deal of experience and valuable input to the advisory committee and hopefully to the commission as well. We also received several presentations, as did you yesterday, on proposed post regulations related to SB2 from post staff, and those comments were provided that feedback was provided to the commission yesterday during that meeting. And then review for today's commission's agenda for today's meeting, and those comments were just provided on item F. No additional comments were received. And finally, the advisory committee has been operating with an acting chair for the committee for some time, as you're aware. Assistant Executive Director Maria Sandoval received nominations for the position of committee chair and vice chair. And I believe that will be taken under consideration by the commission under new business. And that concludes my report from the advisory committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are there any questions for the advisory committee? Do I have a motion to accept the advisory committee report? Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing nothing, that motion passes. Now we'll go to the Finance Committee. And Commissioner Rizal will now provide the Finance Committee report.
It'll be very short. We had no quorum yesterday, so there was no report to report.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve this non-report? Second? Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now we will move on to the reoccurring contracts. We will be reviewing and voting on 2 reoccurring contracts from the Training Bureau. Please take a moment to review the contracts under consideration. I know all of you have already done that. If the contract up for approval is considered a conflict of interest to you, please abstain from the contract. Are there any questions before we begin? Is there? Yes, hi. Do you have any questions? No, please.
May I introduce, make an introduction,
Yes.
Madam Chair? So if you all recall, back in March, you all voted on our contracts, on our training contracts. We held a couple of them back. There were some questions by the Finance Committee as well as the Commission on the supervisory course and the management course. So we did not push those through, and we conducted an analysis since March of those 2 courses, and it was specific in terms of the cost or the expenditures on each of the courses and the wide variation of those costs. So Mike, in deference to the Finance Committee, although they didn't get an opportunity to meet, can you at least give a quick synopsis of what you looked at and why there are some disparities, if you would, Mike? And Mike has been very under the weather. So Mike, thank you for being here, and don't get near any of us.
No, thank you so much. Thank you for the background, Manny. My name is Mike Radford, Bureau Chief of Training Program Services. So looking at the cost differences between the supervisory and the management courses, we looked at the disparities in the budgets, mainly in the areas of personnel, travel and per diem, and facilities. So to give some context, salaries for facilitators and instructors vary with all the presenters, ranging from $60 an hour to $90 an hour. These salaries are based on experience as well as the rank of the individual facilitating the course. Some presenters are affiliated with a college, and the salaries are based on the tenure of the college employee. Program managers and coordinators' salaries may also vary anywhere from $55 an hour to $90 an hour based on their current salaries. Supervisory courses we found have presenters, course presenters utilize coaching, evaluators, role players, and facilitators. Presenters have in-kind donations of salary and time to cover the coaching and role players required in the courses. And those that do, we entered into the budget and it shows just as 0. So any 0 that we would see, we identify as staff that is still being used, but is deemed in-kind donation. 7 of the 14 supervisory course presenters also host their course at hotel meeting rooms. All management course presenters host their course at hotel meeting rooms themselves. This results in a higher cost than presenters that use their own facilities with little or no cost. The decision to present at a hotel is based on the availability of facilities. Many presenters do not have the facilities that can accommodate this course and utilize hotels for that. In addition, these hotels are selected in centralized locations, which will reduce the travel cost of the participants. Many presenters utilizing their own meeting facilities may charge a reasonable cost fee or offer it as an in-kind donation. The determining factor resulting in facility cost differences is due to the ongoing business relationship with hotels and regional market rates. So though each of the presenter budgets differ, TPS staff has reviewed each and find each budget is a reasonable cost to present each of their courses. So I could open up for any questions to go any deeper or answer any questions.
Thank you for your research on that. Greatly appreciate it. Any questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve the contracts for the Training Program Services Bureau contracts items 7 and 9? Second? I'm sorry, who made the motion? Maybe in my head. Donnelly made it. I thought so. And a second? Thank you. Ms. Nunez, would you please do a roll call on this vote?
Barcelona. Braun,
Yes.
Brazil, Donaldin. Doyle, Dudley,
Yes.
Yule, Gordon, Long, Marsh, Nieto,
Yes.
O'Rourke.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that passes, and that concludes the finance report and the reoccurring contracts. We're now going to go back to the rest of the agenda. Give me a moment to catch up. Okay. Meeting minutes. Okay. Okay. Now moving on to the approval of the action summary and meeting minutes from the March 2nd, 2022 and April 7th, 2022 commission meetings. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the March 2nd meeting?
Nieto.
Second? Thank you. Take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing nothing, that motion passes. On to the motion to approve the minutes from the April 7th, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion? Second? Did you get a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing nothing, that motion also passes. Now we'll go on to perhaps the executive director report and then on to the consent. Does that sound about right? Okay. Now appreciate the executive director report. Annie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, commissioners, for allowing me a few minutes to speak. First of all, I want to just round out yesterday. Thank you for everything you all did yesterday. We know that was difficult work. There was great debate, good discussion. We really, really appreciate it. That was a huge milestone for us to get those regulations in. The work is essentially done for you all, I think, for now. Because come January 1, obviously is when the real work will come. But I don't anticipate that we're going to have much more in terms of agenda items for SB2 between now and January 1, other than regular updates on our progress. So thank you for what you've done. And also, not a member of the commission, but who also did a fantastic job is Toby Darden. Toby, just want to thank you as always for, you didn't just walk in the room yesterday. There was a lot of discussion with you on all those regulations. I think we've had several depositions we've had to deal with Toby on in the last month, litigation matters, let alone Public Records Act requests. So I think we've occupied more than enough of your time, Toby. So I'm sorry, but thank you very much. Okay. We placed strategic plans on your desk. We finished those about in front of you about 6 months ago. We had them printed up and then we planned on providing them to you in March, and I forgot to put them out myself. That was my responsibility. So you all have them, members of the public have them in the back should they need them. We do have a team led by Katie Strickland that meets regularly to ensure the progress on those goals and objectives. We also placed in front of you the mental health field guides that we've talked about previously. We just, again, didn't provide them to you in March. I believe close to 70,000 of those were distributed to the field. So they're there for you, and there's some in the back for members of the public should they want them. So I'll just give you a quick update as to what we've been doing over the last couple of months. I'm not going to do what we've been doing and where we're going because I think you kind of have an idea of that already. Yesterday, you received a briefing on the software solution for SB2 with Mark 43. So I want to the Computer Services Bureau has been working extremely diligently on that for the last several months. We're also working on a rollout of demographic data for departments and peace officers. We've already seen what it looks like. We hope to roll that out sometime in the summer. We're going to do some previews for some of the associations and law enforcement groups, but it allows you to see, it'll be live on the website where you could say, oh, I want to know how many officers were in California in 1996 through 2000. I want to see how many were men, how many were women, and you could break it down by department. You could break it down by age categories. That will all be live just to be transparent with the public. And I think will also help departments in terms of seeing some data and trends that they can use for their budgeting or their discussions with city council meetings or county board of supervisors meetings. So that will hopefully be available in the summer. It looks really, really good. And I thank the computer services folks for doing that. As you can see, there's a number of tenant improvements that are being done to the building. That's part of a lease that was negotiated with our Administrative Services Bureau and Department of General Services. It has three components to it. One is we're adding, and I won't go into the specifics, but various building security for the staff, for our property throughout the building. Some of that construction is related to that. We're also adding several offices downstairs where we had some cubicles for supervisors. That's ongoing right now. And then they're adding EV charging stations specifically for the staff out in the parking lot. So 6 EV stations should be in place hopefully in the end of the month. So you can see the parking lots all torn up. Along with Mike's group and training program services, our administrative services folks have been pushing all those contracts that we talked about in March. Over 100 contracts that ASB and TPS have pushed through in the last several months to get all our training contracts in place for 22-23. We've also had some challenges on the accounting side. And if we've delayed reimbursement for any of you, we know we have had issues reimbursing for expenses for you all, for others. We have 9 accounting staff members, and we lost 6 of them in a short period of time. 5 of them then went to one agency, 1 went to another agency, and then we had a couple move on. So it's been a delay in providing those reimbursements, but I think we've gotten much further along. We also I want to thank Cheryl Smith from Basic Training. She moved over into accounting, into administrative services to help out when we pulled the bureau chief over to go to SB2. So she was thrown into the fire on all this stuff in March. So thank you, Cheryl, and all the ASB staff. In terms of the training, delivery, and compliance folks, as of May 3rd, or 33% of the calendar year, we've completed 28% of our annual compliance audits. Despite Omicron, which set us back at least a month, we were able to complete 162 compliance audits out of the 608 departments that we need to review. So we think we're in a pretty good spot. We're also now embarking on the review of the not semi-annual, every 2 years we review courses to make sure they're compliant with the law, to make sure they're still up to date with regulation, everything is in order. As you all know, that is a fairly new regulation. We did the first batch last year, which were courses, we do half and half. So last year we reviewed courses that hadn't been reviewed in a long time. This year we're doing the same. Next year, hopefully it'll be a little bit easier because they've all been reviewed every 2 years, but we're embarking on those. There's over 2,000 courses for them to review. So that is a heavy, heavy lift for them. Obviously, the training program services folks have done the contracts. They've been working with the Museum of Tolerance on the update to the racial profiling and bias course. So I think we've been down there 2 or 3 times in the spring to update that course for instructors. They've also been working on a science-based interviewing course that we spoke about at previous commission meetings. We anticipate that being ready hopefully by the end of June or sometime in July and being rolled out. That we want to thank all the contributors from around the state who've been helping, including significant support from some federal agencies from LAPD, and some push and help from DA Vern Pearson of El Dorado County DA's office. In terms of online products, I've already sent some emails on some recent releases, including crowd management, PSP, strategic communications, and a did you know on duty to intercede. They're now working on online training products on environmental crimes, officer safety, field training officers, high-tech crimes, and a specific course on dispatcher compassion fatigue. They've also, as mentioned yesterday, have been working on the informational video on SB2, which will be similar to the AB 392 video. So I think we started the footage of, or shooting footage of that last week. We continue to push on the pellet B to try to automate the pellet B. Obviously, that's very important to us. It's taken some time. Obviously, we heard from SAC PD today that they're moving away and trying to get some other process. We get that we need to make that happen. We're just having some, challenges with the vendor and the scoring of the online tests that's been continuous for a while, but we're working diligently to try to automate that so agencies like SAC PD can use it and get instant results. We're also almost done with the public safety dispatcher job task analysis. We're getting very close. It should be done soon. And then obviously you heard about the AB 846 bias screening. You guys just voted on all of that. So thank you to Melanie for, if she's still in the room, for pushing that through. Management counseling has really been one of our bureaus that's been mostly impacted by a lack of staffing. They've just seemed to always be the ones that take the brunt of things, but they continue to do a great job pushing stuff through. They just have been out to Rialto PD doing a management study, at Blythe PD doing a management study. They're almost done with the dispatcher basic course. We're hoping to have that at least somewhat ready to go and presented to you in December just for a review. And they've added 14, or we're adding 14 new, approximately 14 new facilitators for the team building workshops. I was talking to, excuse me, a couple of the commissioners and one of the advisory members on the team building workshops. We bumped those up to 70. And although we don't go out to every single one, there's still a lot of work for our staff to push those things along. So thank you, Brad, for doing all of that. On basic training, it's just really been a continuous process of pushing things along. We recently delivered, and these are courses that we deliver, the RTO training course, the Academy Director Coordinator course, as well as the PC 832 training course for presenters. That was all in the last month or so. We've done BCCRs at Yuba College and at San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. And we've reviewed 2 PC 832 providers in the last couple of months, Santa Rosa Junior College and Yuba College. Our HR staff continues to just try to push things along and get us more and more people. So thank you to the HR folks that are in the back of the room. There's a couple of things that I know are still pending. One is the history of policing. I've assured the commission that we will give an update to that in September. We are working on it. We've not forgotten about the history of policing project. It is a work in progress, and please just be patient with us and trust that we'll get that done. The other thing that we have on the agenda for September, you all ask for post demographics once a year. So we'll present that to you in September on our staffing, the demographics of our staffing. And then I would also appreciate if you all have anything that you would like on the agenda for September to give it to me, send it to me in an email, or tell me now, or tell our staff. The commission meeting in September is more of a roundtable discussion on topics that you want addressed. We will present whatever material we can present to you, and then you all can have a roundtable discussion. There's very few agenda items for the September meeting. It's just whatever you would like to talk about. And then aside from thanking the staff, I also want to recognize Jim Grotkow, who's in the room. Jim, if you don't mind standing up, that'd be appreciated. I know most of you have already met Jim. Jim is the current bureau chief in Basic Training Bureau. He's been at post for 5.5 years. Prior to that, he was a captain at Contra Costa County Sheriff's Department. And I believe prior to that, he was at Yolo County back in the day. Jim was recently selected and promoted to Assistant Executive Director, so he's taking the place of Scott Loggins. So welcome, Jim. He starts on June 1st. So thank you, Jim. Yep. And that is all, Madam Chair. Thank you for at least letting me recognize the fine work that they're all doing, and appreciate your time and really appreciate everything you've done for the last 2 days and for Chief Salazar for the last 3 days, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you. And as always, Manny, we're always so appreciative of the hard work all of you do. And we certainly welcome Chief Salazar. Okay, now we're going to go on to the consent items. I will break in about 8 minutes at 11:30. I know a few commissioners need to leave at that point. It'll be a brief break. Then I think maybe we'll be here another half hour after that. So should be getting out a little shortly after 12 o'clock. So on to the consent items. We'll be having a presentation on consent items 4 and 5. Would the commission like a report on any of the other consent agenda items? Okay. So let's go to 4. At this time, I will call upon law enforcement consultant Raymond Nandiego, Basic Training Bureau, to provide us a report. Welcome, Raymond.
Good morning and thank you, Madam Chair. At the September 29th, 2021 commission meeting, the commission directed post staff to review the feasibility of prospectively ending the specialized investigators basic course and the impact to law enforcement in California. The requirement for every peace officer to successfully complete an introductory training course described by the commission of post is provided by Penal Code Section 832. Penal Code Section 13510.5 states that the Commission on Post shall establish the minimum standards for training of peace officers commencing with Penal Code Section 830, including law enforcement officers identified therein. Penal Code Section 832.25A requires all welfare fraud investigators or inspectors who are appointed as peace officers pursuant to subdivision A of Section 830.35 to attend and complete the specialized investigators basic course. That subsection B of the same penal code section exempts the requirement provided that the individual has successfully completed the regular basic course within 3 years prior to appointment as an investigator or inspector. Commission Regulation 1005A3 requires every peace officer whose primary duties are investigative, except district attorney investigators or inspectors, to complete either the RBC or the SIBC within 12 months of the date of appointment. This includes the following departments: state investigative agencies, including the Supreme Court of California, welfare investigations, welfare fraud, social services, human assistance services, and the district attorney child support divisions or welfare fraud units appointed under Penal Code Section 830.35. Elimination of the specialized investigators basic course would necessitate a legislative change to the Penal Code, as well as subsequent change to commission regulation.
Thank you. Any questions? Very much. Yes.
So this was something that was requested. There's been some discussion among, thank you, Madam Chair, first of all. There's been some discussion about, with some of the law enforcement groups about the penal code, consolidation of the penal code. And then we obviously have had some discussions, including some discussions this morning about the SIBC and the RBC for district attorney investigators. Question, can we just get rid of the SIBC course? Can there be some consolidation of the penal code, which obviously is out of our hands? The challenge with it is the SIBC is required in the penal code at this time, at least for now. So we just wanted to present that to you all. I know that was a question. What can we do about it? Should we get rid of it?
Okay, and again, this is just presented for information only, no actions required, but thank you very much.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just to be clear, so to move forward with this in some form or fashion, it's going to take a legislative change. We go in and we look at changing the penal code in order to address this.
That's my understanding. But
Correct. It is a penal code requirement.
thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you. At this time, it's my pleasure to call upon Legislative Liaison Public Information Officer Megan Poulos to provide us with a report regarding the new laws and legislation impacting post. Megan?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Actually, it's good morning still. Madam Chair and Commissioners. Before I begin my report on legislation today, I want to note some of the challenges that Post continues to face during the legislative session. I don't have to demonstrate to you all the amount of work that goes into implementing new laws, as you've all been discussing SB 2 for months now, and especially with April and our meeting yesterday. Each year, dozens of bills are passed that affect our workload. Legislative mandates, whether big or small, create pressure on the field, the commission, and most certainly Post staff as we work to implement them. I say this because this current session is no different. Implementation dates along with staffing challenges continue to plague our workload. As you are aware, we are often short on time as we must overcome the various obstacles that come with the implementation process. Some bills aren't signed by the governor until late fall, and unless specifically stated, automatically become law on January 1, leaving us very little time to implement and then notify the field. Late last year, the Little Hoover Commission released a report on law enforcement training. Of their 12 recommendations, the very first recommendation was that lawmakers should temporarily refrain from amending or adding new legislation or new law enforcement training requirements, and instead provide Post funding to assess how well existing officer training is working in the field and adjust training mandates as needed. As you'll hear from my update today, this recommendation of not amending or adding new training requirements has not been taken. Post prides itself on the work we do, and obviously will continue to meet the necessary deadlines, but I feel it's worthy to note this as a continuous challenge that we face. So on to my report. We are midway through the 2022 legislative session. The legislature has been very busy tackling key issues in our state, as well as addressing issues occurring on the federal level. Tomorrow is the last day for each house to pass any bill that was introduced in this session. The next few months will be very busy as bills move into the opposite house to be heard. So out of respect of everyone's time today, I'm going to limit my presentation to a smaller set of bills that are of interest to Post. The list that I currently have of bills I'm monitoring is close to 60. And that is bills that would affect either Post or law enforcement in general. And I know that there's other law enforcement bills that I probably haven't captured. The agenda packet includes a more robust list than what I'll talk about today. And I personally update the legislative page on the Post website. So I urge you to visit that often as well. Okay, so the first bill I'm going to mention is AB 655. This is a 2-year bill, so it's been in the Senate for a while now, and it's scheduled to be heard again soon. So this bill would require a peace officer candidate's background investigation to include an inquiry into whether the candidate has engaged in membership in a hate group, participation in any hate group activity, or advocacy of public expressions of hate. AB 1608 is a bill that removes the county's authority to combine the duties of sheriff and coroner. And this bill also removes the Board of Supervisors' authority to combine the duties of tax collector with the duties of coroner. AB 1947 would require every law enforcement agency to adopt or update their hate crimes policy using the Post Hate Crimes Model Policy Framework. The bill also includes requiring a supplemental suspected hate crime report form. And there are many other changes to the law and various other reporting requirements in this bill. That bill is a very lengthy bill. AB 2429, interestingly enough, this bill took that first recommendation of the Little Hoover Commission and essentially put it verbatim into law. It would require Post to work with academic researchers to assess existing officer training and establish a permanent academic review board. And the commission would be required to report its findings to the legislature by January 1, 2025. AB 2773, this bill would require a peace officer making a traffic stop to state the reason for the stop prior to asking any questions. This bill does not further define what a question is. Previously, there was an added stipulation that if the officer failed to make the required statement, it could be grounds for filing a motion to suppress. That has since been stricken from the bill. SB 882, this bill would create the Advisory Council on Improving Interactions Between People and Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities and Law Enforcement. That is the full name of the council. This would be under the Department of Justice. The council would evaluate existing training for peace officers specific to interactions between law enforcement and individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Recent amendments reduced the proposed council of 16 members to 9. SB 960 removes the provision under Government Code 1031 that requires an officer to either be a citizen of the United States or be a permanent resident who is eligible for and has applied for citizenship. There were amendments that went through literally yesterday that amends the bill to make the requirement that an officer be legally authorized to work in the United States under federal law. So while it removes the provision of the requirement, they did just add in that they must be legally authorized to work in the US. On Tuesday, during the advisory committee meeting, Chief Salazar mentioned AB 2644, a bill regarding custodial interrogation. This bill, I wasn't going to bring it up, but I did. Thank you, Chief. This bill adds specific actions to the penal code in regards to interrogation of persons 25 years of age or younger, specifically stating an officer shall not employ threats, physical harm, deception, or psychologically manipulative interrogation tactics. Say that 8 times fast. Earlier in the session, this bill was directed at juveniles, but received considerable pushback because it's listed a youth as 25 years of age or younger. Recent amendments were made to remove youth and state person to add to the penal code, and they added it to the penal code rather than the welfare and institutions code where it originally began. Post has been active in discussions with the author of this bill as it could obviously affect training done in ICI course. So what's next? As I stated at the beginning, these are only some of the bills that Post is monitoring. We're halfway through the session with obviously a lot more to happen. All bills will be heard in policy committees before summer recess begins on July 1, which leaves a lot of action to happen in the month of August. By the time we have our next meeting in September, we'll know what has been finalized and what has not, and the governor must sign or veto any bill by September 30th. This concludes my presentation, and as always, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Megan? You know, what a great job you do on the website updating. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the very concise report you gave today and for our attachments. Thank you. Let's see. Yeah. Stand by. Okay, Acting Chair Salazar, did the advisory committee have any comments or on any of the items provided the consent section of the agenda?
Nothing other than, as Megan mentioned, with regards to AB 2644 and potential training impacts for law enforcement.
Thank you. As this was the last item on the consent agenda, is there any motion to approve the consent items?
Nieto, second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing nothing, that passes. We're now going to take a very brief 4-minute break and start back up again at 20 to 12. We have, I get to read off future commission dates. Don't ever forget. Okay, we will start up. Is Maria. Okay, thank you. Just a few more minutes. Old business. There is no old business for discussion. New business. Manny, new business.
There's two things. I'll take one and then Maria will take the other. For the Finance Committee, if you would like to, you may want to select new members. I don't think you need to do this now. I'm just putting this on the radar for perhaps December or September. The Finance Committee is not going to meet in September because it's the workshop fashion meeting, but we did lose Commissioner Bowie and we did lose Commissioner Ramirez, which essentially leaves 4 commissioners on the commission or on the Finance Committee. And if we end up losing Sheriff Doyle, then or Commissioner Doyle in December or June, whenever that may be, then we'll be down to 3 potential. So I just put that on your radar in case you want to continue with the Finance Committee. Maria?
And Madam Chair, as you know, the advisory committee works under the direction of the commission. We have been gone for several months without a chair, and one was nominated on Tuesday, which is Chief Salazar. And the vice chair was proposed to be Julie Spry. So that is up to you to agree to that or disagree.
Well, we need a motion. Okay. Someone like to make a motion to agree with Maria? Second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing nothing? Welcome, Chief Salazar. You've done a spectacular job already.
Thank you.
Great to have you here.
And the vice chair?
And the vice chair? I think that was the motion.
For
carried
both?
for both. Yes,
Okay, got it.
yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay, future commission dates, September 22nd, 2022 in San Diego, November 30th through December 1st, 2022 in West Sacramento. We're talking about a possible August date. You got that yesterday. We don't have any more information about whether that will happen or not. We'll keep you posted. If it does happen, it would be in West Sacramento. Back to the schedules, March 1st and 2nd, 2023 to be announced. June 7th through 8th, 2023, post in West Sacramento. We are now going to briefly adjourn for closed session. We'll ask all attendees to exit the room, but just stay on the other side of the door if you want to come back, because this will be very brief. Okay, great. Commissioners, is there anything else? Well, Sheriff Doyle, you'll be missed by everybody, but I don't think anyone more than me. You've been such a great commissioner, and I'm going to miss you and hopefully see you someplace else.
I always tell people who are going to miss me just to spend an hour with my daughter and then they won't miss me anymore. But thank you very much. And I'll miss all of you. As I said, this was a privilege to sit on the post commission and be reappointed but there comes a time when, and I think that time's now. And, you know, there's an old saying, it's better to leave early than stay 10 minutes too long. So, and I wish all the new commissioners the best.
Thank you. Would you like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes, so moved, Madam Chair.
Second? Okay, the meeting is adjourned. I should ask, is everyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. Everyone have a safe trip back and look forward to seeing all of you soon.